So thank you for joining this evening, Choosing Kindness. And we're going to start with some meditation of what we think of normally as meditation is often what we call placement or stabilizing meditation in this tradition of Buddhism. Placement or stabilizing meditation, where you're keeping your mind on one object and keeping it there stably. This is how we grow calm abiding, or shine in Tibetan, shamatha in Sanskrit. Calm abiding, you're placing your mind on an object, it abides there, it stays there calmly. And that's what most people, when they come to meditation, think meditation is all about. So focusing on the Noble Eightfold Path and now looking at one of those points is concentration. So what do we really mean about concentration? And there are 9 levels to develop what we call shine, calm abiding, 9 actual meditative levels. What we're used to, we're usually at around level 1 or 2, where we can barely keep our mind focused on an object. Most people begin focusing on the breath. So it's not a yoga ujjayi breathing where you hear the breath. It's a simple, you're breathing in and out anyway. And basically you could focus here at the tip of the nose where the air enters and leaves, and you can close your eyes lightly and settle into a good meditation posture that the main point of it is having your spine as extended as possible. So it's as if the back is straight. We know the spine is not straight, but you want to feel that expansion, the extension. And if you're seated in a chair, it's perfectly fine. Just have your feet flat on the floor. Or if you're on a cushion, any cross-legged position that is comfortable for you. So meditation is a really important component of a practice to help you get to know your mind so you can clear out the ugly patterns and you can enhance all the positive qualities you have, which are many, but we're just not often focused on them. So it's nice to be still and get together with yourself if you can, at least once a day, once or twice a day. It doesn't have to be long, especially if you're new. So sometimes 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes at night, just gives you a sense, even if you're not an experienced meditator and say, I don't know what I'm supposed to be meditating on, you get quiet. And so the first part is that posture, finding that posture. Subdued posture. So the head's in a subdued position. It's not all the way up here, you get distraction. It's not down here, you get sleepy. And you want to start relaxing. So this is the next component that we miss that's really important, relaxation. So as you lightly close your eyes, so we're bringing the gaze inward. And right now, just take a couple of deep inhales as you slowly let them out. We're just deepening our respiration. And you can even imagine as you inhale, you're inhaling space into any tense places in your body. And as you exhale, imagine releasing any tension that you're holding. And it's really helpful to scan your body. So begin at the very top of your head right now. We're going to take a couple of minutes. We're going to move all the way down through our body, all the way down and out through our feet and toes. And just note any places you are holding tension in your body, like your neck and shoulders or your jaw, your brow, lower back, hips, anything like that. And every time you exhale, releasing a little bit more of that tension, inhaling some nice open spaciousness into those places, slowly bringing yourself to as relaxed a place as possible. And then bring your awareness to your breath, normal, natural breath, and what can be really helpful to better focus us before any activity, but especially meditation, is to consider our motivation. We've talked about this before. Generating as positive a motivation for the meditation as possible, for whatever activity actually that you're engaging in. So, whatever that is for you, and in this tradition, we're focused on helping others as much as possible. And one way we feel we can help others unlimitedly is if we come from a fully awakened state as a Buddha. So, if that's something that interests you, or at least coming from an unlimited place where we can help others, take a moment right now and set that intention for some meditation right now and for our session this evening. And so, for the benefit of all living beings, we'll try to develop and to try to work on and keep our mind as concentrated as possible right now. It is difficult. It can be difficult. It takes effort. You can do it. Okay, so we're going to do small segments. So if you'd like to stay with that space right outside the nostrils where the air enters in and leaves, great. If you want to follow the rising and falling of your abdomen as you're breathing, that's fine. Stay with one of those situations. And if it helps you to count your breaths to stay more focused, that's fine. So an inhalation and an exhalation counts as one. See how far you can count before your mind wanders. If it wanders, you simply observe you're out there after a thought. Maybe there's a distracting sound that your mind ran out after. No problem, you become aware your mind has wandered. And here's the trick, gently bring your mind back to the breath. You don't give up that I can't meditate, what's the use? You just gently, this is showing up, we're off the breath, we're off the object, and then back to the breath. And then you start counting again at one if you're counting your breaths. You try your best, 5 minutes. So just rest your mind for a moment. You can take it off the object. You can even open your eyes if you'd like to look around the room for 10 or 20 seconds. And especially if you're newer to meditation. And then you get clear on your object again and lightly close your eyes, and we're focusing on the breath. And you can think in your mind, make a determination for the next 5 minutes. I'm going to keep my mind focused on the breath without my mind wandering. Please begin. 5 more minutes. So here's how meditation can be most useful for us. Starting with the stillness from the breath, using that to calm the mind with deeper respiration, completely can de-stress us right there, just beginning to de-stress us, beginning to level the mind so you can see what is going on that may be disturbing your mind, or maybe you're having a happy moment in your mind. So you're basically getting to know how your mind functions in any given circumstance. So as you're just sitting here right now calmly, so we got here from, here are the steps, the posture of the body. And once you do this regularly, you just fall into you just know what the steps are. Okay? And don't worry if you forget a step. It doesn't matter. Just sit still for a moment. Just get yourself into a good posture, back extended. Okay. And then some deeper respiration, because it starts to relax you. Okay. And then scan the body, let yourself relax, because we are wound normally. So meditation comes organically when we've disengaged some of our nervous system. When we relax, then that state of the mind, the meditative mind, arises naturally. So allow yourself. We think we're too busy. I don't have time to meditate, so I don't have time to relax. Okay, but that's a big, important component of meditation. And it's just 2 minutes. Just estimate 2 minutes. And then from there, I might want to set an intention or a motivation. And what that is me directing my mind in a positive way, in a more beneficial way, like that. So those are just the beginning to get that set up. And then there I am with my mind focused on the breath or focused on something else. And so I'd ask you right now, after the breath, I'd like you to take yourself right now to your happy place, meaning whatever is very positive that gives your mind a very nice, warm, positive feeling about yourself. Like, what are those places in your life where you feel content, calm, spacious, happy, cared for, heard, whatever those things are for you? Just imagine you're in that space right now. Maybe words come flowing through that represent, maybe images come flowing through, beautiful sounds or aromatic smells, whatever it is. Take a moment right now, put yourself in that happy place. Breathe that in as much as you can. So what happens is if you spend a little bit of time in this happy place, your mind has this ability to recover and go there and get used to that at times when you need it. You can call on that more quickly and find that space for your mind, for yourself. Okay. So I'd like you to now think about when you're not in the happy place, go to your past week, maybe the past couple weeks when the mind wasn't in a happy place. A problem arose, let's say. This happens all the time. There's small problems, there's bigger problems. So take your mind into one of those situations. Explore a little bit how you feel, body and mind, in the situation. And ask yourself now, because something that really contributes to our happiness, to our lasting well being, is our ability to recover from negative states, our ability to recover from negative experiences, negative mind states. How would you like to recover right now? What would help you recover in the moment from whatever problem was just moving through your mind, or whatever was happening to you in the problem? Plan it out now, realistically, what you're able to do. Maybe meditation is a component of the ability to recover. So map it out a little bit. This is our practice. I'm going to practice, and maybe you're not used to doing this. So you end up reaching for unhealthy coping mechanisms. Then that's a habit. Like, this is changing the habits. This is what meditation's about. So map out some healthy recovery tools. And if you feel pretty clear about what you're mapping out, go back and check again and go through it again. This is what I'm going to do. This is step number one, what I want to do. This is another thing I'd like to do. And actually experience yourself, imagining yourself going through that activity for a little bit of the time. Visualize yourself doing it. Think about how you're going to do it. And it's not just the doing. How are we thinking in the recovery? What's my mind thinking with a story I got going that toppled me, for instance? Can I readjust my thinking into something that touches reality more? And then what you can do is dedicate. And if it's the end of your practice, you dedicate whatever positive energy you've created from the exercises you're doing, from the meditation you're doing, to having success in those activities that you just thought about, and to helping yourself wake up fully so you can benefit as many beings as possible. If you'd like to dedicate like that, we can dedicate in many ways to the war in Ukraine ending, for people helping each other, for people who are sick, things like that. So please take a moment right now, just relax. And when you're ready, please open your eyes. So what I want to discuss from this are patterns that will move us into something happier and richer for ourselves. And that's what we want. That's what we want. There's no question. Okay. So Richard Davidson's a neuroscientist. Richard Davidson. Okay. And what he says, and there's 4 independent brain circuits that influence our lasting well-being. This is what he says: 4 independent brain circuits. And there's a lot of neuroscientists, neuroanatomists, psychologists that kind of map out how do we become happy? And a lot of them overlap. So I really like these things that he mentioned, Richard Davidson, 4 independent brain circuits. And what he says, number 1, what we went through in the meditation, the first is our ability to maintain positive states. Of course, that makes the most sense, to maintain positive states. But here's the thing. We all know people that complain a lot. We all know people that are what we might label downers, right? People, it's kind of gloom and doom. They're always really negative. They're really negatively critical on people. You know, sometimes you might feel that you're that way yourself. Okay, you can change your mind. Everybody has the ability to change their mind. So you're not left with that. It's just habits. It's just simply habits. And once you become aware of it, you can start to change it. What's the best way to become aware is to do some meditation. Okay. And in the beginning, it can be scary because suddenly you're like, there you are with your mind, and you might not like what you're seeing. So, hey, we're all human beings here. We all make mistakes. We all have our stuff, and everybody has different stuff, but we all have some gunky stuff. It's just normal. Okay. So let that go and realize our common humanity is, we're all broken. We're all broken, but we're all fixable. We're all fixable too. That's exciting. We're all broken. And it's in my brokenness, honestly, that I get to see others' brokenness more, in a way of wanting to help them. My heart breaking open to think, oh my gosh, I've been there myself. I've been in that situation that person's in. So I can feel more what they're in if I've been in that space myself. That. So sometimes that's our brokenness. We can touch everybody from that space. So I don't shy away from it anymore of I'm flawed or I just made another mistake. Makes me bigger for all the people in the world that are suffering. But it doesn't mean I'm not working on it, that I don't learn from that mistake so that I don't have to repeat it too many more times. But sometimes we have to repeat it again, right? Okay. So that's number 1, first circuit, our ability to maintain positive states. So again, that was the moment. First, we just focused on the breath, concentration, noble eightfold path. The path of concentration is what I was talking about tonight. That one of the 8, concentration. Just the very basic is on the breath. You can choose eventually other objects if you want. Eventually, what we do in Buddhism, in Tibetan Buddhism, for those practicing Tantra, for instance, is we end up visualizing an aspect of the Buddha, maybe an image of the Buddha. Now, initially, we're not used to that image. Okay, it's much easier to visualize an apple, right? Or a rose, a Buddha, but maybe you start with the face and maybe you just focus on the eyes first, and then the face, and then I get the kind of whole image of the body. And the reason they say it's good to meditate on an image, an aspect of the Buddha, is they say it's uplifting for the mind and it leaves a positive imprint on the mind. And it gets your mind used to visualizing deities that are in tantric practices, things like that. So slowly, but you can just choose. It doesn't matter what your object is with Shine, with calm abiding. It doesn't matter what your object is. Again, you can have calm abiding on a paperclip. Okay, it's from the mind side. So you're not looking at the image in the meditation. You might look at a card, see the image of the Buddha, then close your eyes and you bring it up in your mind. Okay, and then it's a matter of tightening the mind, zeroing in on the details as you sharpen the intensity of the visualization. So really working with that aspect of the mind while my mind's also holding the object. It's on the object. And you work with those two components back and forth as you're developing Shine, developing the 9 stages of that meditative absorption, absorbing into the object. And you learn when to kind of tighten the mind up a little because I'm about to lose the object, or the intensity's fading, I'm not really having the details very focused, or when to loosen the mind up a little bit and relax the mind because it's too, I'm squeezing and the object's going to pop out. So you start to get this sense of your mind. There is a space of awareness there that is your mind. So with the 9 levels of Shine that you can study at another time or in another class, it goes through the different stages and what there's 8 different obstacles and there's 5 remedies that you apply and things like that. And so we learn kind of when the mind's sleepy and what method to apply, and when the mind's kind of subtly sleepy. It's different than blatant sleepiness where I'm falling asleep. Then there's a subtle kind of laxity where I'm kind of on the object, but the object isn't very clear. And then there's excitement. I'm following an object of distraction. Okay, that's blatant excitement. But then there's subtle excitement where I'm on the object, but the mind's still buzzing a little bit, kind of not as clear, focus. So you learn all those different obstacles and what are the antidotes to apply to remedy that. So that's concentration. And then from there, I said, go to your happy place. And that's the ability to maintain positive states. Like, can I soak my mind again and again in positivity, in positive thinking, positive attitudes? And sometimes you might want to have an image that you're in your happy place. And from there, there's a sense of relief, a sense of peace and calm, happiness, joy. I feel relaxed. The heart feels open and spacious, like that. So if I can familiarize my mind with that at times, that's helpful to keep me out of the negative criticism and things like that. So here's his second circuit again of these independent brain circuits that contribute and influence our long-term well-being. The second one is our ability to recover from negative states. So that's what I mentioned. Have a plan in your mind, and you need to rehearse it in your mind. Helpful to rehearse it in your mind. So what I mean by that is, this is what we use meditation for. If you say, I don't really know what to do when I meditate. Well, analytical meditation, which is the other kind, separate from placement meditation. Okay, placement or stabilizing meditation, again, is what we started with, on the breath. Placing the mind on the breath, calm abiding, keeping it there calmly. The mind goes off and I'm back to the breath. That kind of, a second kind of meditation is called analytical. Many of you have heard about that before, analytical. And that would be then, here I am in this space, right? I'm on the breath, noticing, and I had, or you come back from work, and this is one of the things I gave an explanation where I used it before with many work situations, which can be stressful for people. I think a few weeks ago, I mentioned the lawyer that I worked for many years ago in San Francisco, Ted, right? And I would get myself all worked up because he'd ask me to do things I didn't think were in my work area, like washing out his moldy coffee cup. There was another guy I worked with, I mentioned before, at a magazine I worked for in San Francisco, again, who was very intimidating, kind of loud and rude to people. And I had to do a project with him. So I would come home. I was the new person in the staff. I'd come home all stressed out. I have to do this project with him. I don't know how I'm going to work with him. He seems so unreasonable to everybody. I hear him yelling at people. I hear him, saying rude things to people behind their back, to other people. And here I have to do this project. And And I'm the new person. I don't have any allies there at this office to I don't have any friends there yet. So it was, so slowly I'd come home, and with the breath, I calm myself down from the stress. The stress would start to go, and then more spaciously, I could analyze this guy. What's really wrong with him? And I could analyze. So what I was afraid, all these things I'd build up in my mind, ruminating. Okay. And then I went, all right, relax for a moment. Wait a minute. You're not happy in the rumination. So let's look at this guy. What's wrong with him? And I'd have my list. Is there anything right with him? And actually, there were some good things about him. In the fear, in the mistrust, you don't see any of that. So I kind of start stacking up. Oh yeah, he does this, that this is good. There's a whole list suddenly. I thought, there's more than one dimension to people. Okay. But what happens is hostility and conflict, then we only see the negative. Okay. And then attachment and desire, we only see the positive about someone. So then we glom onto them. Grasping as well, not healthy. Okay. So this way, because of meditation, which was just me sitting comfortably at home in a little space I'd made in my room, I had a little tiny room, and then I'd start saying, well, he does have some good qualities. Like, so suddenly I kind of relaxed about him. And then I made a little deal with myself. This was me mapping it out in my mind. This was my ability to recover from negative states, is I'd map it out in my mind. I'd say, okay, tomorrow when I go into work, I have that meeting with him. And during that meeting, what I'm really going to try to do is stay focused on his positive qualities. And maybe comment on something that I see positive that he's doing or saying. Or, so that it goes into the positive, it stays in the positive. Rather than, well, his voice sounds a little loud now, so I'm afraid. Or maybe he'll say something negative about me when I leave. So here's the other thing is, maybe in this case, maybe he'll say something negative about me after the meeting and things. Here's another big one. This is a big one for you. Okay, this isn't in the 4-part circuit, but let go of what people are saying about you or what they think about you. There's peace in the mind, right? If you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, you're trying to do a good job, you're trying to be conscientious, you have a good heart, you want to help people, I'd let that go. They can talk about me till they're blue in the face. I can't help that. I can't help, different karma they have, whatever. So slowly, so give it up. But again, this was my ability to recover, was I had to focus on his good qualities. And then I had to make a deal with myself that the next day when I went in during the meeting, I would try as best as I could to keep focused on his good qualities. Every once in a while, one of his negative things would come out, and I'd have a little like, and then I say, wait, but he's really got a great idea here. This is a great idea. And we're having a pretty good meeting, and he seems to be listening to me. And I just kept, didn't mean the other things weren't going to be there. I found a little moment actually from the positive space, from the reframing of what was happening, was to compliment him genuinely on something. I like your shirt. It's a really good color for you. So now he's spacious. Oh, Amy said something good to me, something positive. He doesn't have that with everyone, but so there's suddenly that. Okay, so that's number 2, the circuit, our ability to recover from negative states. So see if you can start working with that these next couple of weeks. The ability to, some people takes a long time to recover and they hang on, they hold grudges, right? They did this to me. That's all I see of that person. Maybe I need to some point discuss with the person directly how this made me feel. So it's not about attacking them. You said this. It's like when you say that, it makes me feel really kind of dissed, really disrespected when you say it. I just felt really undermined the other day by when you, and give them an example. When you said that, da 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 da. Try to be specific with an example so they understand that, they realize that I did say that. Well, that made me feel really kind of useless. It really took all the steam out of my sails, like that. So again, the ability to, it doesn't mean you don't, directly face somebody at times in a compassionate way to tell them how you feel, but how can I recover? Am I just going to go home and eat my way through the rumination? Which a lot of people, the habit, am I just going to go back home and stream videos because I can't even deal with, then we don't feel very healthy after that, clearly. So that ability, this contributes to your joy. Okay. Here's the third circuit. This is why we started with concentration. This is again from the neuroscientist, is our ability to focus and avoid mind wandering. Okay. Meditation, such a huge help with that. Our ability to focus and avoid mind wandering. Okay. So I don't multitask that much anymore. It was completely distracting and I was getting a lot less done. I'm kind of like, this is what I'm doing now. One thing, I've got this time. Manage your time where 20 minutes on this project. Then after that, then I'm going to check my phone and see if there's any messages. You might see messages come in the meantime. It's better if you don't even see the notifications and messages, if it's possible. But then from 11 to 11:30 in the morning or something, that's when I'm going to check the phone and see if any messages I have to deal with, whatever. There's nothing really life-threatening unless you're like a brain surgeon or, right, that you can't wait to have that moment when you're going to do it. What happens is because of our devices, we've become slaves, and every moment we have to be, oh, I just got the text in. Now I have the WhatsApp message. Now there's an email coming in. I just find you're rattled by the end of the day. Your whole nervous system is like, so what's happening is some younger people are saying that's how they were raised. So they have a habit of doing it. I don't find them all that healthy. I just spent some time with my niece and nephew, and in their 30s, and they were raised this way. And my niece and I spend a lot of time talking about stuff like that. So how it's not that helpful for the distractions in their minds of the way, can you just finish one thing? So that's where meditation can be really helpful. Do you ever get time during the day to be still with yourself and check in? How's it going? How's my mind right now? Yeah. And I have times in my mind, I'll be like, my mind is a mess right now. So that even tells me a little bit more, I need a little bit of time for myself. I need a little bit of time. Maybe I need to go out for a walk. Maybe I need to get in the sunshine because now we're losing light in the Northern Hemisphere. Sometimes people want to be out in the sunshine. Maybe I need to get some exercise. Maybe I need to call that friend that really cheers me up. Maybe I need to eat something healthy. Those things. So that's me getting from that, my ability to focus, avoiding the distraction, the mind wandering, okay, helps me to find the better coping mechanisms. The fourth circuit, our ability to be generous. I found that so interesting. Our ability to be generous. Now, it's generous-minded, I would say. Generous-minded, okay? And here's and so I'm just going to make a commercial announcement right now. Sorry, I have to do this, but tomorrow's a big Buddhist holiday. It's called La Babduchen. And what it is Buddha's descent from heaven. Descent from heaven. So the Buddha went up to the God realm of the 33 to teach his mother. And the people that were down here on planet Earth begged him to come back because we missed him, wanted teachings. And so the day that he descended is our fourth, what's called wheel turning day of the Tibetan calendar, big festival day. And there's 4 main holidays like this in each kind of part of the calendar, each quarter of the calendar. And they're great days. They say they're merit multiplying days where all the positive and negative you do that day is multiplied like hundreds of millions of times or something, hundreds of thousands of times. So a great day to practice generosity. If you want to make an offering, for instance, to Land of Medicine Buddha, I'll put that link in later from our site. But it's a great day to do it. And we are actually having, if you're local and you want to come over and turn the prayer wheel, we're having from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Come and turn. We have 3 prayer wheels, large prayer wheels on the property. And just to make merit for the property, to help us, we need to do some of these practices. So that's happening from 10 to 3. Lunch is being offered at 12:30 in the afternoon up at the Chittagarbha temple, up the hill, and you're welcome to join if you're local. And then at 6:30 in the evening, I'm leading online. Practice is recommended by Lama Zopa Rinpoche, and you can register online. Do register in advance to get the Zoom link. And I'll be leading that for about an hour and a half tomorrow evening. So it is a great day to basically also make offerings. We certainly need it. And there, and I'll just you'll see right on our website, landofmedicinebuddha.org, there is a donate now button that takes you to the appeal that I wrote. And I'll just put that in the chat if you're interested. Thanks very much. That's our website, which most of you know from registering. And then you'll see the donate button right at the top. But here's the thing, to be generous, I find really interesting, is another component to balance your mind and be joyful and be happy, our ability to be generous. So think about your mind in the spacious generosity that some people have, that it's a generous attitude. You don't need to give anything, but people that have that ability, and people that have the ability to listen, they lend an ear, they have time for you. Let alone people that do want to make offerings and things like that is super helpful. But just think about your generous attitude and how it can layer you into a very giving, open, spacious mode like that. So again, these are things you can experiment with, but I wanted to talk about concentration of the Noble Eightfold Path, wanted to do some meditation like that, and then talk about these components that are layered on concentration, on basic meditation. And I can't mention that enough, of trying to set up that practice if you don't already. And if you do have it, enhancing that practice and learning various meditations, that some of which we go through in the different modules and things like that. So I wanted to talk also about, when we talk about the positive mind states, and then talk about recovery from negative mind states, also the issue of the word reframing. How can I reframe a situation and turn it around from something? And I want to bring in, and some of these I've mentioned before in other classes. These are from Brené Brown, about guideposts for wholehearted living, that I find really, really useful. And they're kind of entertaining as well, okay? So these are again, guideposts for, I think you'll enjoy some of these. And just think about, how can you use these, okay? So here's another thing. These are, number one, cultivating authenticity. She says, cultivating authenticity. And what she's doing, she's talking about something to cultivate and then something to let go of, okay? And she said she is cultivating authenticity, letting go of what people think. So I would say so much of that, because if I'm concerned, then after the meeting, and I really had a good positive state of mind about this guy in the meeting that I was very worried about. But then if suddenly the thought comes in, well, what is he going to trash me to somebody else in the office? And then they'll think that about me. And I had to let it go, because I'm like, I'm in the meeting, doing what I can do. Because I'm being myself. I'm being my authentic self. And that's all I can do. And if they don't like that, there's nothing I can do about it. Nothing I can do. Sometimes karma just comes up, and you're purifying something. And like I mentioned, there was somebody I met, there was a nun I met years ago when I was at another center, and she came to this center to work, and I was looking forward to working with her. I thought, oh great, she's there, doing the programs. And when I first met her in person, and was like, oh, I've been, so happy to meet you. I've heard so many great things about you, and I know we have this connection from this other place. And I mentioned it, and she just hated me from the get-go. It was amazing. It's like nothing I could do was right. Nothing. It was just, and it went on for quite a while. And then it finally eased from me apologizing for whatever I had done. I didn't know that there was anything in this life. I wasn't aware, because I'd never met her before. But clearly there was something karmically from my mind that had caused her to manifest like that. Again, Tibetan Buddhism, everything comes from the mind. So again, you can try to wrestle out externally, but really more and more and more, my experiences have been, if I shift my mind, purify something in my mind, clarify something in my mind, I'm not kidding. I mean, the external manifestation always shifts in some way for the positive, in really strange ways that have convinced me more over time that it comes from the mind. So eventually it diffused, and we're friends now, actually. No problem at all. So, but, it did take work on my level, not blaming her and not always making her the target. People would say to me, oh, well, she's mentally ill. And I'm like, this is my karma. This is my mind. Like, it's happening to me. So it's coming from my mind. So rather than the blame and letting yourself off the hook because, oh, everybody said, everyone had that experience with her. But if it's happening for me, if it's disturbing my mind, I can do something about it. Offer the victory, apologize. I bought her a little gift, whatever. And it really, really works, things like that. Otherwise, you end up just disjointed. It's always other. They're over there. I don't like. I'm uncomfortable around them. I get nervous around them. And when you're nervous, check it out. It's hard to be authentic. When you're really nervous, you get rattled and you start saying things you don't mean. You start saying things and they leave your mouth and you think, that's not what I really meant. I just realized I got a little rattled by that person, or I got rattled by the situation. I was in a rush. That's not what I mean at all. Okay, so again, cultivating authenticity, letting go of what people think. Here's number 2, cultivating self-compassion, letting go of perfectionism. Perfectionism. Think about self-compassion techniques. I have a whole course on self-compassion. But for those of you that are perfectionists, I like to think I'm in recovery. I think I'm pretty well in recovery now with perfectionism. But again, think about self-compassion techniques. Nothing's perfect in samsara. Nothing's perfect in this cyclic existence, okay? So all of it is kind of suffering. So I'm never going to get it perfect. One day I could be perfect. I could be a Buddha. That's what I'm striving for. That's beyond samsara. But as long as I'm in samsara, it's a broken situation. Okay. So I acknowledge that, then, I fall flat on my face and make a mistake, then some self-care, self-compassion. It's okay. I go out for a walk. I make myself a nice meal. I get together with a good friend. Something pleasurable that you like to do that takes care of yourself in your process. It's okay. Absolutely okay. Here's another one. Here's number 3. Again, guidepost for wholehearted living. Cultivate a resilient spirit. I love resiliency, okay? Letting go of numbing and powerlessness. Think about the pandemic. For me, it was really impressive, the resiliency of some people that I knew and what they were doing, the adapters, I called them, the adapters. And my dad as well, he passed away at the age of 92. The thing that made it so pleasant for me and my siblings, that made it so much easier, is he adapted. And there's people in old age. Some of you know them, some of you are caring for them, I'm sure. And they are just stubborn and dug in. I'm not moving, and I'm not accepting the nurse, and I'm not going to do that healthcare thing they told me to do, and I'm not participating in the PT, physical therapy, and I'm not doing it. No, 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 no. I'm not moving. I'm not going to that place. I don't even want to look at it. I don't want to talk about it. It's really, and they suffer a lot of misery there. And then the people around them suffer. People trying to help them suffer like that. So my dad just adapted. He rolled with it. He knew, there were situations happening. There were times, he didn't like what was happening, and he'd say, and he'd kind of resist a little bit, and then he'd go to the next step. And he's like, okay, let's go look at assisted living places. At one point, we suggested it. And we said, you don't really need to go there now, but let's go see some. And you get a sense of what they're like. And maybe you decide you don't want them. You don't want to go there. So he was like, when he was good enough to go, before he needed it, we went around. He had friends in some of them. We visited his friends. So it was more relaxing. It wasn't like an urgent kind of, okay, you need to make a decision. But then shortly after that, a decision needed to be made. Like he couldn't walk anymore. So suddenly he realized, his mind was kind of getting in line. So resiliency, think about resilient spirit of some of the people in COVID. And here's the thing, letting go of numbing and powerlessness. There's a number of people and it seems like spiritual people that our business is when the planet is going south, when the planet's really struggling, our business goes up. I get all these calls, all these emails. Can you help me? Can we do a Zoom call? And from people that were feeling numb and powerless, experiencing this real powerlessness. And a lot of them, when I talked about coping mechanisms, they were streaming videos all day long. So that's like a numbing effect. They were lying down in bed in a certain position or on a couch, eating a ton while they're watching like movie after movie after movie or series. And you don't feel good after things, or they were watching the things, they were over obsessing about the news. So again, how many, the news just repeats itself all day long. So how many times did you have to watch the same story, listen to the same story? No, they were going to check it on another news device, another news platform to just see what they said. And so it doesn't really help the mind to be in, number one, that first state of the happy mind state, right? It doesn't necessarily help you recover from negative mind states. Doesn't help you to keep the mind focused, to avoid mind wandering like that. Does it help your generous spirit to be in that space? So those are things to think about. Like what keeps you away from the numbing and powerlessness? Now, some people said, well, they read the news and it's terrible and they numb out. Okay, well, then I do Tonglen meditation, that giving and taking meditation. We're going to do that next week. Giving and taking. So I don't get numb anymore. I see something, the war in Ukraine, and I go, oh my God, this child starving and all the people starving, and and it's horrible. It's horrible. I think about people being trafficked or child slavery, or I mean, you can go on and on. We had our list, remember in the beginning. So all the world woes, like that, global warming, you might say. So the thing is, individually, I can't solve that problem, but I can do my share. That makes me feel empowered to take my bags to the grocery store and reuse them. Like, or, just something to, whatever you feel like you to be kind to somebody on the street, to help somebody, to give, an offering to a homeless person or something. Whatever I personally feel I can do, trying to live in that thing, keeps me away from being numbed out. There's many actions you can do. There's actually a lot of good stuff happening on the planet. It's just not readily reported. There's many good. I'd rather focus on those good things that are happening like that on the planet. So, I mean, honestly, look what's happening with the war in Ukraine. It's turning. Something's turning. Something's shifting right now, and it's not over. It's far from over, but so, it's shifting. Something's shifting. I think for the better. Hopefully, it'd be nice if Putin would just, kind of realize, like, just get out of there, just give the world a break right now, let alone Ukraine. There's things happening. Here's number four guidepost: cultivating gratitude and joy, letting go of scarcity and fear. Cultivating gratitude and joy and letting go of scarcity and fear. So gratitude is fantastic. Something I really try to wake up with every morning. You wake up in the morning, and this is what happens for me. I've mentioned this many times before, but especially as you get older, but you're lying in bed and you realize you're waking up, whether the alarm goes off and I realize really quickly, everything seems to be functioning. Like I'm still thinking the way, I feel like I can move my body, and that's a really good thing. Like I'm just that alone. And I wake up in a warm, comfortable bed in a safe place, shelter. I have food, I have means, I have loving family and friends. I mean, that's more than most people. That's extraordinary. And that is extraordinary in a way. So I'm like, a lot of us take it for granted, but in the morning, I really have a moment of like, this is fantastic. Fantastic. Not that I don't have problems, like all of us, but just some gratitude there. It starts right there in the morning. And then throughout the day, can you focus on, I really make time during the day many times. Today, I walked out of a store and the sun was setting. I walked out of the store, and we're getting a little bit of weather now in California, which often the sky is just clear blue. So it's a little bit boring maybe. But if you're in a rainy place, like when I lived in Vermont, the sky was rarely clear blue. It was always cloudy and things. So if, you'd be in California and see the clear blue sky and you go, oh, it's so amazing. So that's great. But today I walked out and there were a few clouds, and the clouds were this incredible pink magenta. And I walked out and I was just like, thank you. That was just beautiful. Like, just have these little moments. They're all over the place if we want to see them. It makes me joyful. It lifts me up. Here's number 5. Cultivating intuition and trusting faith and letting go of the need for certainty. So how do you feel about certainty? And Kathleen and Catherine, can we see you? Can we, is it possible to, there you are. There she is. You're muted, so I can't
I'm
hear you.
sorry. I'm the
Oh,
caregiver for someone and I'm
oh,
trying to go through his paperwork. But I'm loving this. Thank you so much. Thanks. I love it.
okay.
So
Um,
I'll just mute.
yeah, that's fine. So certainty, how's it, what do you think about certainty? Don't we want to know what's going to happen? Don't we like that? It's really hard to know what's going to happen all the time. It's really hard to know. So just thinking about, and sometimes you get a very strong sense in your heart, your inner voice. You know, some of you have different relationships with faith or whatever you have faith in, whether it's certain people, whether it's a style, how you work or how you are, things like that. And I would find ways to trust that and really develop that. That's your wisdom. That's your wisdom. And let it be inspired with your good heart. Because that's what I think what really the guru, the teacher, the spiritual teacher is trying to get us in touch with is that I remember years ago, I have really strong instincts and it's a little uncanny how right on they are at times. I'm not making myself out to be any great, kind of seer, whatever. Rinpoche had said to me, Lama Zopa Rinpoche had said, my main teacher, and he said, just trust your instincts. He said they're usually right. Well, to know what, and it, and when I get off balance and I go off and I don't, and I'll ignore one, it's always like a mess kind of. So I more and more I'm kind of like, no, this is what I feel like I need to do right now, or this is where what we need to do with the center. It feels really, and I'll just, at least if I'm working now I'm working with a board, I'm not the director of the center, so I will voice my view like anyone else on the board can do, and I'll say I really feel strongly about this, but then the board can vote, and sometimes they'll vote yes and sometimes they'll say no, they don't agree, and that's fine. I'm happy to discuss with people. We don't always have to agree like that. So we're going to finish the other guideposts in a couple of weeks. I just wanted to ask if there's any questions so far on anything we talked about tonight or the meditation, any confusion, frustration, difficulties you're having with meditation or getting a practice set up or an ongoing meditation practice or anything else. Please.
Hi, what did you say number 3 was? You said for the Eightfold Path, I think you listed ability to, wait, it was after ability to recover.
Okay, well, there's a couple different things I've talked about tonight. There's number one is the Noble Eightfold Path, and all I spoke about tonight was concentration, because we've been
Okay,
through
okay.
most of the rest. And just let me just give you a review of what we've talked about, because I know some of you, this is your first class and you can jump in. We started looking at, after the Buddha got enlightened, the Buddha kind of laid out a guideline, okay? And they fit into the 3 higher trainings, which is a way we practice, the 3 higher trainings. Anybody remember the 3 higher trainings? And I know in Buddhism, there's the 3 of this, the 6 of that. So what are the 3 higher trainings? Because I have the Noble Eightfold Path kind of laid out according to those 3 higher trainings. So let me go to the last one, wisdom. That's the third, wisdom. In order to get wisdom, what do you need? What's the second one? What were we doing tonight in the beginning?
Is it clarity?
Clarity's part of it,
Okay.
but in order to get wisdom, you need to have meditative absorption, concentration. Okay, so you need to have shine, and that's concentration. In order to have good concentration, you need ethical discipline. And the reason is, if you have good ethics, meaning, I haven't really lied to a lot of people, I'm not cheating people, I'm not killing people, my mind can be more stable when I meditate. So basically, they say you can get shine, you can get calm abiding in 6 months in the proper retreat setting. Any one of you can do. But the thing is, it's good to have the good ethical basis, because my mind is pretty relaxed, and my mind's like, I'm leading a good life. I don't really need to worry about too much. So meditation can be good to go off. So they're organized according to the 3 higher trainings. And these are what we've talked about, the Noble Eightfold Path. Basically divided. So under ethical conduct, that first of the 3 higher trainings, we've got right speech, right action, and right livelihood. So we've talked about those. Then the next one is under my concentration of the 3, the second one of the 3 higher trainings, concentration, I've got right effort and right mindfulness. And then right concentration. And they're slightly different. Each one has I need a lot of effort to get my mind into the meditative stabilization, and that to want to meditate. Okay. The mindfulness keeps me focused on the, on the topic on what I'm supposed to be doing, and brings me back to that over and over. And there's more levels of that I could talk about. And then the concentration and developing the stages of that. And then the higher training of wisdom. And that involves right thought and right understanding, which we've talked about. So that was one thing I was mentioning. But the next thing I went to is Richard Davidson, neuroscientist, talked about 4 independent brain circuits that contribute and influence our lasting well-being. So number 1 was our ability to maintain positive states. Number 2, our ability to recover from negative states. Number 3, our ability to focus and avoid mind wandering. And the 4th, our ability to be generous. And then Sarah, what I started talking about, I think Sarah asked the question, I started going into Brené Brown, which related to this, is her 10 guideposts for wholehearted living. And what she's doing is talking about cultivating a positive aspect while letting go of something negative that we might get hooked in. So she mentioned cultivating authenticity, letting go of what people think. That was number 1. Number 2, cultivating self-compassion, letting go of perfectionism. Number 3, cultivating a resilient spirit, letting go of numbing and powerlessness. Number 4, cultivating gratitude and joy, letting go of scarcity and fear. And number 5, cultivating intuition and trusting faith, letting go of the need for certainty. Does that help, Sarah?
Yes, that was an awesome overview. Thank you so much. It helps to get it all, because the numbers do get me confused sometimes.
And it's
But
true.
thank you. That really helped.
And when you're newer, just relax, because I had many passes through these things. Or the teacher would be saying, in the 7 of that, it took me many, many classes. And you have to study on your own too, to kind of say, oh, the 3 higher trainings. Oh yeah, and it took a long time to get some of those concepts in place and things. So again, don't worry too much about all the different, eventually the more you study, the more you attend classes, you'll hear it. That's why we repeat over and over and over, because it finally goes in. The main thing is, again, some practice component in your life helps you deal with your mind. Like I said, when I wasn't even understanding meditation, coming back from work with stressors, I could kind of go back in, get in a posture. I was comfortable. Get a blanket, a comfy blanket around you. Make your seat really comfortable so it's inviting. Maybe you have a picture you like that is there. Maybe you light a candle. Maybe you have a little vase with a rose in it or something. Doesn't have to be anything fancy, something that you're comforted with. And that became my spot, where before I'd want to go out in the evening with my friends, I was like, oh, first I want to go sit there. Sometimes I didn't even know what I was doing, but it was just a little calm, seated place. Now here's what happens is people go home and they have a beer, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But for me, it was like, I went home and then I had my little cozy place, and I'd sit and I kind of let all the day kind of dump out with just 10 minutes of, and sometimes I'd be really distracted, excited. We're going to go out. I'm going to go out with my friends at that restaurant, or we're going to, I'm going to see so-and-so tonight. But I just kind of have that little calm moment. Sometimes it was longer, and it got longer and longer as I found the space useful. And I would get up in the morning and make time for a little bit of space there. And then that time got longer, longer, because I saw the value of it. That's how we develop a practice, if you're interested. And that practice helps support your life tremendously. And then you can tune up the practice where you're learning more components, more meditations based on classes. Like I'm going to start this class in January. It'll be up on the website soon on Emptiness, and you can tune up and come to another class and get a little bit more out of that, and then do another class and you hear a little bit more, and that they all come with meditations. So you learn some more meditations like that. Anything else right now before we conclude? So I would encourage, if you can tomorrow, even if you're not near a center, is just try to do some more practice if you can, because it's a really auspicious day to do it. Labab Duchen, this special holiday, and anything like that would be really great. Some people get up early to take precepts, these 24-hour vows I'm going to do in the morning, generosity, help a friend, anything like that or to just do more specific practice like that can be really great tomorrow. It's good every day, but tomorrow is kind of special as well, like that. So I wish you a happy Labab Duchen, and let's dedicate whatever positive energy. And just for exercises, again, I would think about those guideposts of, think about authenticity, and think about, faith, and kind of developing your own instincts when you have your inner voice, and gratitude, joy. Think about some of those things and some of the other things we mentioned tonight, and just keep working on a meditation practice. Let me know what doesn't work for you, what's not happening, why isn't it happening, or what you might be able to do to make it happen. Be happy to talk about that, and like that. So let's dedicate whatever positive energy we've created from our time together to help us build a creative and robust meditation practice for each of us, for us to cultivate all those positive qualities in our mind and allow them to grow, keeping us happier, more buoyant, and hopefully helping us to reach a place where we are unlimited in benefiting all living beings. So I'd really like to dedicate to that, really like to dedicate to an end of the war in Ukraine and all other conflicted places. I'd really like to dedicate to the end of this very restrictive regime in Afghanistan. It seems to be getting worse. It looks places like that. So I'd really love people to be free everywhere in a really kind of respectful way, that we can go around on this planet like that. And for all the beings on the planet that need additional healing right now, may they receive it completely and immediately, like that, and for peace to prevail in all world systems as much as possible. Thank you so much. And I look forward to, and so we're going to meet in 2 weeks. So the date, and you'll get a reminder, and the date will be Monday, the 28th of November. So right after Thanksgiving. I also wish you a very, very happy Thanksgiving. And it's always for me a little bit of a strange holiday because of what's happened to the Native people in this country, but there's much to give thanks for, there's much to be grateful for. So I always love that aspect of it. And so I do wish you a happy Thanksgiving. And if you can, explore what you're thankful for, what we have much to be grateful for. I think just looking at the people on the screen, even with our problems and things, I think there's much to be grateful for. So I wish you happy holidays and hope you get a little bit of a break, things like that.
Thanks so much.
And Patty will send out, thank you, Patty, so much for the reminders, and she'll send out a reminder. And again, with this class, you need to register for each one. Give me an idea. We have the 28th. The class was supposed to end then for at least a couple of months. Do you want to go to there's one more class before I go away, and that would be on December 12th. See, it is the night before I leave, so I'm concerned I'm going to be a little frantic getting out of town. December 12th. So maybe, I think what we'll do is let's keep the next one as the last class for now. And then I would like to discuss, or please think about, if you want to start up, which would be in late January. I will be teaching Emptiness in late January. Hopefully I'll be training a spiritual program coordinator. So I'm hoping to have more time that I can do 2 classes a week in the evening. So if we want to keep something like this going, or whether you're going to do the Emptiness module and we should maybe continue with 1 class, or, you know, let just think about it. Think about think about other topics or things that you might want to study, that you want to talk about. That would be great. So we've got 1 more class next week. We'll finish the end of November, and then I will be back to start something. And I'm starting 1 class for sure in January, later in January, and then let me know. I'd like to hear what you'd like to do. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I can give you some other topics we can also do. So maybe I'll have Patty send out some ideas like that if you're interested. That'd be great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Thank
and
you,
please be well.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Namaste. Thank you.
Thank you.